In continuation to the first video on the manufacturing and ERP, I just want to slightly dwell into the context so that you can get it correctly before you start watching this series all along. See, the purpose is that if you are a programmer, software programmer, and you want to build or at least learn something about what a ERP is, then you can track this, you create the entities, you create the relationships as we go along in this video. On the other hand, if you are a BI or any intelligence or analytics kind of a person, then you can structure it or you can model it as we go along, and at every stage you can come out with your own BI dashboards to make a meaningful sense of what we have been discussing, so that is also an experience. On the other hand, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to try something, maybe you can use this as a case and start or go along with this, and up to at least wherever you are comfortable with, you can take up your own venture. Or if you are on the other hand, if you are an employee, you want to learn about the manufacturing or how certain things are done in manufacturing or the ERP in general, then this may be of use to you. You can correlate this with respect to what you have been doing or what your colleagues have been doing in your organization. So that is the bit of information I want to just share with you. And now let's get into the discussion. We have been seeing pen as the use case for our discussions, at least for now. So you have seen two pens. One is with blue in color and the other one in red in color. So if you look at the components of the pen, obviously you will have one cylindrical piece, and there is one a top portion where the ink dispenser is there, and there is a cap, and of course you need to fill the cylindrical portion with the ink. Then there is a labeling on the pen, that the cylindrical portion. Then you need to assemble the cap, and you need to assemble the ink dispenser onto the cylindrical portion, which is called the pen. Now the whole pen is ready, and then you will pack it with some kind of a packaging material and send it out for customer. That's how the typical or at a high level, this is how a pen is manufactured. So with that in mind, how to go about these components? See, we discussed about 6 or 10 components. Okay, how to go about these components? Whether you are going to make, or you are going to buy, or you are going to subcontract with someone, and in all the scenarios, you also need to know how do you plan to store these components. So obviously that opens up the topic of getting something as a raw material. Then there could be so many intermediary process, which is called work in progress items or work in progress components. Then you may end up with a finished component, and in this case you got two finished components, one with red in color and another one with blue in color. So you need these two kinds of pens. So how you are going to store that, and that's how at a high level you should start thinking. So let's take a scenario where if you are going to do it with an in-house make decision or manufacturing decision. Just for example, the follow-up actions, if you are deciding that way, or okay, how about you design each of these components, okay, or parts, whatever way you want to call it. I'm interchangeably using components and parts if it is a if it is not a product, and sometimes the components can be the product by itself. So you need to be careful with the terminology. So how you are going to design each of these parts, and who is going to design? You need people for that, right? So overall the human resource, you need to do that kind of a design. And you definitely need not only human resource, you also need other types of resource. For example, it can be as simple as a table chair or a drawing room, or it could be automatic CAD softwares. There are a lot of things available like AutoCAD, KiCad. So there are so many things available. Then that in turn opens out, where do you store those outputs? That is the outputs of the drawings. So like that, you have to start asking your own questions. So at this stage of the thought, so there are two kinds of uh, thinking, or parallel thinking, that goes on. Okay, the first one is related to finance, business, and infrastructure. So, what are the skills needed for these finance and business and infrastructure? So, in order to know what skill, you need to know what that means is. So, the pertinent questions at this point in time in the course of our program, at this point in time, related to finance, business, and infrastructures are you a captive unit, or are you an independent unit? When you say captive unit, means you have got a customer. He may be again in a B2B chain. He may be there in the chain, or it may be most likely you may be doing it in a B2B chain. Means you are in a there is a customer, is another manufacturing unit or an assembly unit which is going to do that. So for that, are you an exclusive guy who is going to develop only these two pen for that person or that company? Or if you are an independent one, which means that you are trying to penetrate. So there are topics like red ocean, blue ocean, like that we will discuss when it comes to strategy and business later, but not now. So if you are going to be an independent one, then what you do is that you will develop not only these two pens, you will also use this facility for some other products also. Not only to the same customer, it can be for a different customer. But if you are a captive unit, you will be more or less like you have to develop only for that person or that company. So that is the first question you need to have, and subsequently, how are you going to raise the funds? Funds in the context of finance here, and the funds is mostly related to capital at this stage. Okay, so so you need to know something about capital, finance, and how to form a company, like that. Then obviously you need land, and there are a lot of government regulations related to land, like you need to have a horticultural setup as part of your landscaping of your factory, and so on and so forth. And your product might demand maybe a effluent treatment plant, or how to manage the waste that is coming out of the manufacturing. So is a different ball game. As I said in the earlier, each one is a ocean by itself, and you need to attend. I mean, you have to pay attention very carefully and understand these terminologies. So for now, let's say the land and the government. Then it requires a kind of financial planning, like if you are going to get some X amount of money, then you need to know that how you are planning to use that money from the conceptualization of the product, in this case this pens, and to not only to design, you need to manufacture it, and then you need to dispatch it to your customer, then you need to collect the money from the customer, then it requires certain things might require a post sales support, or post or you can, somebody calls the after sales service. Okay, so then you need to build a complete maintenance or support infrastructure to handle any customer calls or complaints. So on this is on one side with respect to financial planning. The other side is that somebody has given you money. It could be you yourself to your company. So in that case, the company is a different identity, the you are a different identity. You may be you, or it could be any other person or any other company in turn who is funding this capital or infusing this money to your company. So in that case, you meaning you being the owner of the company, not you as an individual, you being the owner of the company, how do you plan to return that money to the person who has infused the money? So in that case, the first question is you have to return the capital. Suppose somebody has given you X thousand rupees or dollars. So then that person may be obviously expecting that $1,000 back or 1,000 rupees back. So then you need to know at what period of time from the start of the project to approximately what period in time you are likely to hand over that money back. Then you also need to give, because he is taking a risk on you, right? So you have to return something on top of that money. So which means that you have to return something as an interest in case if it is a loan, or an equivalent of interest in terms of maybe as an equity, or it can be multiple times of thousands he may be expecting it. So there are different ways by which these can be calculated or arrived at, and but you should remember at this stage, as part of our ERP series, you need to remember that you have to return that original money and some extra. That extra can be a fraction or it could be some multiples, and you need to know at what time frame you are going to give. So with this, the skills needed for this are your financial prowess is absolutely required in terms of accounting, chart of accounts, and how to manage the entire finance, like when to give priority, whom to, at what point in time. You see, money has got a value only with respect to time. Money does not have a value, at least this is my opinion. Okay, money does not, money is static. Okay, so only time is a varying factor. The time only adds value to the money, not money doesn't multiply by itself. This is of course my view. And so you need to be very sure at what point in time you need to disperse some money in order to complete some or accomplish some task. At the same time, you also need to know when to collect money from your customer. That is as important as dispersing the money. Most people fail at the very start itself. Maybe you can make a mark here or note here, like people don't have plans how to collect the money. So that's where most of the businesses get into the problem, which we will discuss later. So this is the financial expertise you would require. Then in terms of business, obviously you need to return the money. That means you have to have a payback period, and you need to know what are the financial ratios you want to play at to what point in time, and a fair assessment of the position of the company with respect to market, like the market share. Suppose you want to venture into the market, and whether it is blue ocean or red ocean. Red ocean means there is already a market, you are another player, maybe with some variance, some difference to your the way you deliver your products. If it is a blue ocean, means there is no competitor, you create the market for yourself. So again, you need to know in terms of time how you plan to get into this market share business at what point in time. Okay, the third part is the government related transactions, like company formation, taxations, environment and pollution control, and there are a lot of permits you may have to. In case if there is an export, then you have to do import export, and you need to enable your banks to receive foreign currency. All those things you need to know at that point in time. So this is with respect to finance and business, and maybe to some extent infrastructure as regards to land. And when it comes to the product per se, which is with respect to the pen, which we are going to produce as part of this case study, the requirements at this stage, the pertinent question, the pertinent question at this stage is requirements and design. So if you are responsible for designing, or is it someone is going to design it for you? Maybe you can outsource how to manufacture this component to somebody else to design. That is one option. In that case, you have to, you know how to validate the correctness of the design, and you have to be ready with your paychecks for that. Or if you are going to do it in-house, then you need to be clear about how to go about design. But before design, what you need to be very clear is there are requirements, okay, for that product. The obvious thing is that the pen has to write, but in this case, pen has to be held in hand, and someone can write it or use it to write. But again, the whether it is going to be children studying in the school, or is it an adult, or is it a professional who is going to use it? So you need to know who is the end user. Okay, then obviously you are going to have the marking, right, the your product label, etc., etc., on that. So somebody is going to hold on to that. It should not irritate. So the very first thing, see, of course you need to know that it has to write. Besides that, you need to know what are the implicit and explicit requirements of the product. That you need to remember in terms of both your end customer or customer, or somewhere in your value chain, whoever is going to be your immediate person to use, and at the same time for your production and for design. See, another simple example is that the cap, you need to maybe either tighten or you fit it. So it should have the right grip there, so that you can push it in and keep it fit. So the requirements vary based on how you look at it. Okay, and and for one product, the one which we are talking about, like the pen, the number of requirement will run into hundreds and hundreds. Okay, it may be mind-boggling for you to imagine, and if you start writing it down, you will know for yourself. And just don't underestimate that. Yeah, it's a pen and it has to write, and there ends the matter. That is not the case. So you need to know these requirements, and in order to do that, you need to have certain skills with respect to requirements and design. Okay, these requirements, for example, certain requirements might require government laws to be studied properly. So, which in this case, if there are any effluents, you need to be, I mean, the production house is going to generate, then it needs to be accordingly treated before you flush it outside of your factory, or even if you are pushing it into your ground somewhere within your factory, you need to get that. So so if there are, in some places, certain things may not be possible, because if it is closer to agricultural area, certain things may not be possible for you to do that. So you need to redesign your manufacturing process, or you should use the right set of or different set of jigs and fixtures in this case, or instead of plastic with particular material specification, you may have to go in for a different specification, or for a matter ink. Okay, the ink which you are going to use it for printing on the label, that needs to be changed. So these requirements vary from the topmost to the from the customer or the user perspective to your design. And in each level, this is where the trickiness comes. In each level, you need to be very clear that how these requirements get staggered, okay, from design to your end user. So for example, the same pen, if somebody has to hold it, then it has to have the level of what do you call the ease of holding. Okay, that should be smooth, but it cannot be so smooth that it drops off your hand. So you need to design the level of smoothness on the surface of the pen where you are going to hold it. So this will have an impact from starting from the end user to your design. So in this case, if you have to do that, then you need to. I'm introducing a term called tolerance and then the manufacturing terminology. So if the bottom pen has to hold it, then the length and the diameter and the surface finish of the cylindrical portion of the pen, the one which you are going to hold it, for example, and maybe the one which you are going to insert. This is particularly relevant if there are moving parts or no two parts are getting stitched together, in the sense that one goes inside the other, or one you put it on the other using a threading mechanism. So that it varies. Okay, so the operation varies, the nature of a product varies for that matter. So so in order to ensure that the one gets into the other, you need to design in such a way that the tolerance, I'm introducing this word tolerance, uh, that is required for the shaft diameter as well as the whole diameter of the cap. And this it has to cascade from the start of the design to the end user. So if you are able to track down for every parameter, not just this diameter alone, for every parameter, if you are able to track down the tolerance of each parameter, starting from this end of the spectrum, which is design, to the other end of the spectrum, which is end user, then that is where the ingenuity comes into picture, and you will become a master. That we will discuss down the line in the videos. The other important thing is that this tolerance is not independent, or is not the one which you choose for yourself. That is predominantly decided by the material also, because the material needs to have the level of you can call other set of parameters like rigidity or toughness, or fragile, whatever way you want to call those parameters, because when you are holding it, that should not bungle. So it has to be stiff enough. At the same time, it has to hold on to your hand. So you need to choose the right set of materials, whether it is plastic. There are different types of plastics, and if it is a material based of metal, then there are another hundreds of metals and different combination of metals. So you need to know which one to use for what component. So with these two, at this point in time, I will leave you with material specification and tolerance, and with respect to the design. And in case you are going to use drawings for designing, then either the drawing can be done manually or through digitally. In case if you are going for a digital one, you have to use either AutoCAD or KiCad. There are a lot of tools available in the market. And in case if you are going to do manually, you need to draw it, and it is very cumbersome. But still, there are people who do it for smaller pieces, so that is perfect. That is okay. But here again, you need to know the intricacies of the drawing, whether it is starting from whether it is a first angle projection or a third angle projection, and and so on and so forth. So three things at this stage with respect to requirement and design. One is the drawing, another one is the material specification and tolerance with respect to design in particular, and requirements starting from design to end user. You need to capture all the requirements. With that note, let me leave you here. Think it over, and we will discuss subsequent things in the upcoming videos. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.